Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Frames Podcast, Episode 2. I wanted to thank everyone for tuning in last week. And this week, we not just welcome back myself, Ben, and Charlie, but we also have a special guest. Would that special guest like to introduce himself?
Hi, my name is Luis from Luis Loves Films and the Geeks of the Week, and yeah, really excited to be here.
Perfect. Thank
Great
you
to
very
have you
much.
on.
While we're here, do you want to plug any of your socials or anything like that, just so everyone knows who you are?
Yeah, sure. So it's literally just Luis Loves Film. I'll put it here, Luis Loves Films on all socials. That's where you can find me, and then also the Geeks of the Week as well. And that's pretty much it. That's where you can find me talking about all things Disney, parks, animation, and films in general. So if you're into that sort of stuff, and obviously you like these guys, drop me follows and stuff as well. But yeah.
Yeah, make sure to
Perfect.
go give them a follow. Some fantastic content.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
today's plan is we're going to be discussing once again everything that's been going on this week in film and television. Of course, the main thing of this week and our big focus is going to be Elio, the latest Disney Pixar movie. We're going to be reviewing that later on in the episode. We've also got some questions for our guests just to break the ice and get into all of this. And then we're also going to be going through this week's news. But Ben, if you want to kick us off with those questions, we can go straight into that
Yeah,
now.
sure. So I thought the best way about going is, to break the ice with everyone and yourself is I've given you a couple of questions that you have no idea what they're about, and we can theme it around that. They are very different, and it's going to be very interesting to hear your response.
Okay, cool wings.
Cool. So we'll go with the first question. Again, like I said, they're all very random. So the first question from me is, what is a DVD that you owned that is iconic to you and holds a very specific memory?
Ooh. I mean, I'm a physical media collector. Oh, my son is falling down. Okay, well, I'm a physical media collector, so I do have a lot of those sort of DVDs. There's two in particular that I actually rewatched recently,
Okay.
and they are very out of the ballpark you wouldn't imagine. The first one is Bob the Builder Built to Be Wild. Okay, it's a DVD that I used to watch on a daily basis if I stayed at my nan's. And I remember distinctly, I would always go upstairs, sit down and watch it with a little thing of Nesquik, and that would be done for the night.
Beautiful.
And it was, and then I watched it last week, and I was like,
Yeah,
well. And the second one is a very, very obscure thing. I did a video about it, and it seems like I unlocked a few memories for some people. But it's called Studio DC Almost Live, and it was basically almost like they're like 20-minute episodes. There was two of them that ran in the 2008 period in time, and it was a collaboration between the Muppets and High School Musical and the rest of Disney Channel, and
Okay.
it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Like Kermit does pop to the top with Ashley Tisdale. You have Demi Lovato. You have the Camp Rock, the rest of the Camp Rock gang. It was awesome, and I remember watching that a lot as a kid. And as you can see, I'm a big Muppet fan. So yeah, that I'd say those two.
That's beautiful. The one that holds it for me is I owned. Do you remember Cats and Dogs? Like the film Cats and Dogs?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I had the DVD, and it was kind of before DVDs were like plastic covers, and it was card, and the edge of the card was yellow, and like it was just basically a piece of paper card DVD holder. It was a sort of
Yeah.
thing that like it was very cool to look at, but you could easily ruin it. But I don't know why it's always Cats and Dogs. Even still, when I see that
They're
Warner
weird.
Bros logo, like when like that opening like movie company opens and you instantly go to one film. Warner Bros for me is still Cats and Dogs. I don't know why. I don't know why. Cool. Okay, so the second one is a little bit open to you. So if you could own a prop or make a prop real from something that you get to keep and use as your own, what would it be?
Okay. Oh, this is a shout. I mean, you've got your obvious answers, like your Back to the Future stuff and things like
Yeah.
that. Oh, brother, you caught me left field here. Um, I would go. Let's go something Pixar because, of course, it's
Yeah.
theme of the week. I'd go for the portal, the door portal from Monsters Inc. because I feel like it would just be. I like travel a lot, and I feel like it would be a very easy way of saving a lot of money. So
Okay. Okay. See,
I like that one.
that is a good one. My favorite film ever is Treasure Planet.
okay,
And
yeah,
door portals, you could skip the door. You could have the little planet opener.
yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
can't remember what
Yeah,
it's called. The
yeah.
little changing door
There's
thing.
so many different ways of doing it though. Sonic rings, Doctor
Oh yeah, true.
Strange's. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
man.
I
No,
know
I
they've
respect
Yeah.
that.
both gone for like really obscure ones, and I just sit and be like, I want a lightsaber.
Yeah, just
To be
simple,
fair, it's simple but so
still cool.
perfect in the same
Yeah,
breath. Yeah.
It just would be the thing I'd go for.
sick. Cool. So the last one, keeping it Disney themed. If you could live in a Disney film, but only as a background character, what would it be?
Um. Okay. Disney. I would go for Zootopia or
Okay.
Wreck It Ralph.
Yeah,
Wreck It
that's pretty
Ralph,
sick.
I think, is pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
It's cool. You can go and live in like the world of many video games. It's
Mhm.
awesome. Zootopia, just because I think it's so cool. The city and the way that it's all laid out is just. I mean, I've got the art of Zootopia as a book, and I'm always so beyond impressed with the production design of that film, and I'm very excited to see the expansion of that. Zootopia 2, which comes out in the next couple of weeks, or Zootropolis 2 if you're watching from the States. And then from like if we're talking Pixar side of things, I'd go Luca or somewhere just chill. Like I
Okay.
mean I don't
Yeah,
care
yeah.
about monsters, but living in like old days, it's like Italy, I'd be happy.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, it's interesting. You went for a safe choice.
Okay.
Like, to be fair, most Disney films are quite like, they're all very princess related and very down to earth and actually like humanly possible. But you went for just like I'm just gonna chill for the rest of my life
Bro,
rather than
I don't want any dramas.
you
I
don't
don't
need
want
any
nothing like that.
intergalactic wars or anything. No, that's fair.
No,
I
even
respect it.
things like Meet the Robinsons, right? Incredible world building.
Yeah, yeah.
But if there's a chance that this random guy in a bowler hat's going to come and I'm drama free zones.
Okay. I can only respect
You
it.
can't argue with that.
Yeah. Charlie, do you want to take us over for the news?
News, yeah. So, obviously, staying completely on theme, we have the announcement of a brand new Pixar movie, Gatto. It's going to be directed by the same guy that done Luca, which you've just mentioned. Follows a black cat in Venice, so it's a return to Italy once again. That loves music and is shunned by the locals due to superstitions. It will be hand painted, animated style. How do we feel about this coming out in 2027?
I'm excited. I can't lie, I'm very, very excited. I think it's firstly in very good hands. Luca is an incredible film. I think it needs a lot more love. Obviously, it was a pandemic film, so it's a little bit on the interesting side because it went straight to Disney Plus and things like that. But it has had good reception around the world. You've got Parks characters and things like that as well, which is always a good sign. And the issue that I think a lot of people are like, ooh, is the hand drawn style. Which, of course, when Disney announced they were doing Wish, everyone was so excited for, and then Wish kind of underperformed, I think is the best way of putting it. However, I personally think that Disney tried a little bit too hard, whereas I feel like Pixar are going to make it look so effortless. And with the Spark Shorts program, I'm not sure if you guys have seen those, but they're like little short films that they basically give other people in the studio the chance to direct a film, basically. And they've got some beautiful art styles. There's one called Kitbull, which is a more drawn style. There's loads. And if they go down those routes, if they use those techniques that they've used, it's going to be a very good film.
I look forward to it. I'm a huge cat person. I've got two cats myself, and like, there's always. I'm glad they touched on like the superstition thing of like a black cat because you see a black cat across all different like themes of film. You've got like your cat in Coraline. You've got like Sabrina's witch, like cat, everything, and like it's iconic. And although there have been animal Disney films or like everything, this is the first one that's kind of like he's kind of the sole main character, and I like how we spoke a minute ago about how your answers were that you would pick something safe and like homely. Like he like even though it sounds like he's not having a great time by like people being the superstitions of a black cat, he's living in Venice, he loves music, and like if anything it gives me like a Ratatouille vibe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Ratatouille is great. So if we're in any line of a classic animal film where everyone hates them for a reason but they have a specific love in a theme, I think it'd be good. Especially the key part there is music. So like
Yeah.
Disney music
Oh, yeah.
Infamous, yeah. So if it's going to be like Venice music, I think it'll be quite fun.
We'll see who
Um,
comes back though. It could
Yeah.
be Michael Giacchino could come back. I think
mm,
that's Pixar work a lot with Giacchino. So if we get a Giacchino score the same way Luca and things like that came around, I think, like you say, I think the music's going to be the thing that really carries that film. So
yeah, it,
Yeah.
it does interest me, like especially with the like the painted style, because
Yeah.
like Disney and Pixar specifically have been like in the last couple of years are famous for how their animation is just getting so clean, like very, very detailed. But to kind of full 360 that and go into like a painted art style, not just does it kind of bring back the beauty of like Venice and Italy, like it's that theme, but I think you were right in saying that people liked the idea of it for Wish, but it didn't land great. This could be that kind of push,
yeah,
that
and
next.
I really hope so because I was actually at D23 in 2022 back in
Mm,
California when they first announced Wish,
okay.
and I was basically any films that are coming out this year and in the last like 2 or 3 years, I have been so excited for because I
Mm,
was there for like the whole reveal of it, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, like all of that. Like that's why I feel such a bigger connection to them. And then Wish came out, and I was just a bit like, oh,
mm,
okay. Bearing in mind this is their 100-year film.
yeah.
I was just, I think I was just, it felt a little bit flat. But with Disney and Pixar, I mean Pixar more specifically in this episode, having some really, really good new stories on the horizon. Obviously, you've got Hoppers coming out, Elio comes out, or is out now actually.
Mm.
So it's nice to see those, and I'm very, very excited. But yeah, Charlie, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about the hand-painted style as well, and also just where Disney are going with their animation styles moving forward. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen it, it's all rumored, but I've seen rumors that they're looking to go back to their 2D style animation in the next couple of
Mhm.
years, and I would love to see a return of that. I feel like it's been so badly lost over the past few years, and we
Mhm.
need it back. So I feel while this isn't that, it's a step towards them actually
Mm-hmm.
exploring animation styles, and that excites me a lot. I mean,
Well,
I don't
just
think we'll ever
like
get a Pixar movie that is
Mm.
2D because that's not their style. But yeah,
just like
it's
mixed media,
definitely
I
yeah.
think you're spot on with that. I think, ugh, yeah,
I love that we've got the capabilities of this 3D animation now, and it always looks great. But the charm of the 2D animation is something that makes those Disney classics Disney classics.
And it's not that I
Um,
need them to take back over. I would just like them alongside
hmm and then
because
that's what
yeah,
DreamWorks is doing fantastically at the moment. DreamWorks for me, it's like if you look at the film industry and you look at the animation industry. So for general film industry, I feel like A24 at the moment are
Mhm.
revolutionizing film.
Mhm.
For me, DreamWorks are doing the exact same thing. DreamWorks almost split their studio into different substreams, where we've got
Mm.
the traditional 3D animation, you've got your Netflix division, which does like the Gilligan Teenage Kraken stuff. Then you've got your level above that, which is your 2.5D new age animation, which is your Puss in Boots, your Bad Guys, your things like that as well. Which I think just not only has the stories, this is a big, big thing that people forget as well, is just because an animation looks good, it doesn't mean the story's good. And there's
Mm.
been a lot of independent or like even like Netflix released films that I've been really lucky to either work on or have been connected with in some way that haven't been shown that love just because they aren't from a big studio. And
Mm.
things like Intergalactic or Nimona that have come over the last couple of years, they're perfect examples of both of those as well. So I mean, Charlie, like you say, I wouldn't want a 2D Pixar film, don't get me wrong, but it's nice to see those additional styles being played by, in my opinion, the best animation studio for writing in modern, to be fair, ever since '95. And the fact that Disney, their first 3D animated film is Chicken Little,
Mhm.
I think it kind of says it all. That they should try and go back to some of the more traditional stuff. That's what they're known for. That's what the success led from. 100 years of history. Get back there, even if you blend it a bit, like in Tarzan.
yeah,
Yeah, I think like when you're our age now and you think back on what you loved about Disney, you don't really remember any of the Pixar stuff. Like they're incredible. I'm not saying that, but you go, oh, Disney, and you remember the 2D stuff. And my fear is like the new gen. What do they see? Like what is their like first
Yeah,
films? I'm not saying their first films are wrong or that they're not good, but there's something about Disney that's like kind of meant to be like a wholesome home family vintage feel. And I can't imagine if you're born into a world where like the first Disney film that you can remember is like Elemental, although I loved Elemental, by the way. It's weird to me that that would be someone's first thought. It's almost like you want everyone's first initiation to Disney to still be old, like almost nursery rhyme stories 2D. Everyone, I feel like everyone has to go through that phase to respect it more. So bringing it back might do that for a new generation.
I'd hope so. I really would, and I think especially Pixar's a prime example of this. I genuinely, and I will die on this hill. There is no bad Pixar film. Cars 2 is not a bad film. It just could have been a little bit better. But I generally don't think the issue with Pixar is creating bad films because they don't make them. The thing is marketing and the way that certain films get done. The marketing for Elio has been awful. There are people I've spoken to that have no idea this film exists. However, I've seen so much of it because I am aware of that. But if you are not aware, you'd have no idea this film was coming out, which is such a shame because it will flop and then it will just go to Disney Plus in a month's time. Which is, even today, there's 4 showings at my local cinema, whereas like there's still films from 2 months ago that are playing 7-8 times a day. And it's like this is insane. Just because it's an animated film, it deserves a little bit more love. Whereas a sequel gets so much promotion, like Inside Out 2. Look at the difference between Inside Out 2 and Elio. And what did Inside Out do? It became the highest grossing animated film of all time. It's 2 very, very different ballparks they need to figure out. And yeah, even Bad Guys 2 coming out soon. Obviously Zootopia 2. A lot of 2s, by the way. But even then, they haven't had a lot of coverage. And it's a shame. So hopefully we see more of that and a little bit of an improvement.
Yeah,
Elio's marketing has been pretty poor.
Yeah, it's on a bus and that's about it.
I mean, even in the parks, there's nothing.
Trailer.
I mean, I go to the parks monthly. I'm an annual pass holder, and genuinely, when Inside Out 2 was released, you had merch, you had T-shirts, you had posters, you had trailers, you had like everything. You had meet and greets with the characters, which I know they were pre-existing because there was already a film that existed, but there's nothing for Elio. There's one massive poster on the side of a building, and that's it.
Yeah, that's sad.
So, yeah,
that's a shame because I feel like Elio, obviously we'll get into this more later, but lends itself to a load of sequels. There's a lot you can explore with this character, and to not market the kickoff of that seems crazy to me.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm sure we'll get
brand
into
new
more
voice actor, by the way.
Yeah,
they did the same thing with Coco. Coco did really well. Now there's a sequel coming, and obviously the original voice actor is very heavily involved with Disney. He goes on the cruises, he does all the fancy nights. They still work very closely together. Same with obviously the guys from Luca. You have the voice actors that continue. So hopefully we do get, like you say, that room for growth. And yeah, I mean they brought back Spoofs for the first time in like 20 years, which is a good sign, I guess.
Yeah, I really liked that.
But again, is it too late for that sort of stuff?
We can touch on it properly when we go through our review later.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next piece of news, and this is very new to us, but I was very excited about it. And it's a little bit switched, but we're still in the Disney ballpark. The Punisher has been announced to be joining Spider-Man alongside the Hulk in what is Spider-Man 4.
I'm so excited.
Okay, so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that.
Punisher. It's episode 2, but I need to get this out in the world. The Punisher is my favourite Marvel character. When he was in Daredevil, I was happy. When the show got announced, I was ecstatic. And John Bernthal crushes it in the role every single time. He has the single best scene in Daredevil Born Again back earlier this year. If they were going to put anyone in Spider-Man 4, I'm so glad it's the Punisher. I think I am a little bit biased in the fact that he is my favourite Marvel character, but also just this week alone, the memes I've seen have made me so happy. So please, internet, keep them coming.
I don't know how they're going to do it because like everyone, like Spider-Man is like the family loved, right? It's like the thing that makes the money. Punisher is loved for a very completely different reason that you've just explained. They are 2 very different characters that like I'm not even entirely sure that Spider-Man has sworn yet. He hasn't even said a swear word, and we're about
Got
to add
bleeped,
someone
didn't
in
he?
that literally will like shotgun someone's face off against the wall. Like, we're in a very different ballpark here,
Yeah.
and they obviously spoke about, there was that conversation of what do they want Spider-Man 4 to be. There was that conversation whether it's going to be a continuation of the multiverse kind of feel, or do we go back down to like street level? And everyone wanted street level, right?
Yes,
Um,
please.
a lot of people spoke about how the 3 Spider-Man films that we've already had, although a lot of people love them, a lot of people also hate them, just because they seem not very Spider-Man-y. They were very kind of Iron Man related, and we haven't actually got
Yes.
a Spider-Man film yet. And
They're
there's,
not even
with
connected.
the end, exactly, and with the end of No Way Home, they've kind of wiped it, wiped clean slate. He's poor
Yeah.
again. No one can remember anything, and this is their opportunity to do that, which brings us into that street level film, with the Punisher, which is great. I don't know how they're going to do it though, because how is it going to almost keep that Tom Holland family friendly
Yeah.
with him? It's going to be brutal. Or maybe that is what the film's going to be. It's that like that struggle of balance that like I don't work like that kind of like game. Do you know what I mean? Because Spider-Man doesn't kill, or try to anyway, um, alongside someone that will just happily slaughter you in front. Maybe that's the theme of it. But it's the Hulk bit that throws me off.
Yeah.
That's what's getting me as well, is because I think with the announcement of Punisher, I generally do think that's a bit of a confirmation that it will be more street level, which I'm personally
Yeah.
excited about. Hopefully, they do it well, because Brand New Day, it is a comic run, and the comic run is interesting. Some people love it, some people hate it. I think it's an interesting route to have gone down, but if it does give the Brand New Day, obviously, I think the clue is in the title there. It's going to be sort of like the restart of the Spider-Man character, and
Mhm.
to be honest, I wouldn't be mad after, Guardians played with it a little bit, after how Deadpool Wolverine performed. I genuinely think this could be, and obviously Daredevil this year, I generally think it could be a more 18 ranged film. Like, maybe not necessarily an 18, but
Yeah, yeah.
definitely pushing that boundary. Because I think we kind of need that in the MCU. And with someone like Peter at the moment, who he is in huge limbo at the moment. We have no idea
Mhm.
what's going on with this guy. No one knows who he is from what we know. Maybe Hulk does, which is the whole thing, because he was off world at the time and all that
Yeah, yeah.
stuff. But I think his mental battles, I think his mental health is going to be a huge part of this film. And I think it's going to lead him down the dark road, which is what then gets him to Punisher and the Daredevil area, and gets him involved in that side of things, which I'm very excited for. People have been asking that for a long time, and I've discussed this on many different things before. But my big beef with Spider-Man, I enjoy the films as separate films, but they aren't cohesive.
Mhm.
Homecoming is a great film. Civil War and Homecoming, it sets up a brand new Spider-Man. It gives a new character. It introduces the Vulture. At the end, it introduces the Scorpion. Like,
Mhm.
it gives those little teases for a bigger, better world that's being built. And then it kind of got overtaken by the whole Endgame situation. And then, like you say, it became an Iron Man thing. Then it became a
Mhm.
multiversal thing. And as much as I do enjoy No Way Home as a film, I think it's great fun. It's brilliant. Like you say, it doesn't feel very Spider-Man, even though
No.
there's like 4 of them in there at one point in time.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel. Yeah, I think we need to get back to that Homecoming level to re-establish ourselves and grow Spider-Man as a character that we know and love. So,
My
Have
other
you?
fear
introduce
with like
Miles, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
my other fear with the MCU Spider-Man is it's so cool to see him interact with all these MCU characters.
Mhm.
And I know it's part of like the Sony Marvel agreement that they get to use the MCU characters in the films to help market them and make more money. I would just like to see a Spider-Man film, if you know what I mean, like just him working by himself. Because I've also seen another rumor this week that Shang-Chi is going to be in this movie.
Yeah. I don't know if I need
So
that.
I don't know if I need him in there. I think
No.
he's also too powerful for a Spider-Man movie.
Agreed. But is he
Um,
going to be a super, or is he going to be there operating alongside Bruce, the
yeah,
way we saw it at the end of the Shang-Chi film?
yeah,
And
because
obviously, the
it's the
second
same
one's coming
director.
fairly soon, so
Yeah. Speaking on the director, I think visually this movie's going to look great because Shang-Chi looked great.
Fight sequences are going to go insane. I can't lie.
Yeah.
They
They're
need
gonna
to.
be good.
That last like 2 or 3 minutes of No Way Home, I think we all love. Like the new suit, the grounded level, the swing scene. If we can keep that vibe into the next one, I think everyone will be happy. And there's a lot of talk about like the MCU's on its like dodgy legs bit, if that makes sense. Everyone doesn't really know what's going on, and you're watching the box offices just lower and lower and lower, even if the films are good. We're so deep into the MCU now that unless you've been there since day one, you can't keep up. You can't really start again. You don't really know where you are, and maybe in a crucial time for the MCU where there's everyone thinks a bit risky, if you just brought back a Spider-Man film, like not the next Spider-Man film, a Spider-Man film, it's going to be the beginning again. Like we'll see it as gritty and as truthful as it is. That might bring that back again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still am concerned about the Hulk and Punisher and adding anyone else in that is unnecessary to the story. I think it'll be fun, and I think I'm actually looking forward to it. Just don't know why we need it.
It depends on how heavily involved they are. I think that's the key.
Do you think it has any relation? Obviously, he won't remember him, but we have already had Spider-Man and Daredevil. Do you know what I mean? Like making the kind of triangle of three there. Obviously, Matt Murdock won't remember him, but Spider-Man will potentially recognize that thing. It'd be very interesting to bring Punisher and not mention Matt Murdock or Daredevil.
Yeah.
Especially as they have met.
And they've already been casting Doomsday and stuff like that as well. Like,
yeah.
As much as it hasn't been announced that Tom Holland's going to be in Doomsday.
Yeah.
So, I think the issue is they're trying to do so much with so much they've set up but have no endings for. And even things like Kate Bishop and Hawkeye, they are obviously somewhat, and obviously Echo and things like that, they're all one interlinked entity in the grand scheme of things. And obviously now Kate Bishop's going out and trying to start the Young Avengers. And, there's so many, there's like this is the potential alleyways this film could go down. And hopefully these are really good. And they go down them and they don't mess up these ones as well. It's like, there's so many different ways Marvel could take it, and I think they just need to stick true to themselves. And they've got a good character. If they can write it the way they should do, a big thing that Marvel have said is they haven't been doing is reading comic books, which is I think would be a kind of given. So hopefully, if they can get someone who actually, I think we're in good hands with the director. But if the writing team also knows what they're talking about and knows what fans want, then we could be good.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
I think Marvel's in like this weird stage, as we said, but I think if you can get a Fantastic Four movie that people love, a Spider-Man movie that people love, follow that up with 2 huge Avengers movies that people love, I think then you're back.
And Feige said he's stepping away from shows as well.
But the phrase of "we're back," I think that would solidify them as being back.
Yeah.
That leads us quite nicely into the next piece of news that I had down for us. Fantastic Four got a new kind of clip the other day that shows Gigantic in it. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it.
Yes.
I don't know what I feel about it. I'm not a fan. I don't like it. It's very for a real world film. It looks like a cartoon, not as in the animation is lifelike, but the design is cartoonesque. And it was really interesting to put that in a new teaser trailer whilst Superman had pretty much done the exact same thing. And that's why I said it looks cartoonesque, because Superman is a lot more terrifying, if you want to use that term, compared to the Fantastic. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to spin on the storyline or what is actually happening, because I think Fantastic Four is very exciting because we don't know. This just adds even more don't know to the story.
For me, I thought this was I saw it was for like a Little Caesars commercial, so I don't even know if he's going to be in the film.
I'm going to hope not.
I reckon he will be, but I think it's going to be very much an Incredibles 2 situation. I think it's going to be a opening battle, or because obviously we already know this is not going to be a retelling of the original franchise. They're
Yeah.
kind of doing what they did with Spider-Man. You know the story. You've seen how they got their powers. We'll briefly touch on it in a flashback, but we're not going to go into it. I generally think we're going to get either even if it's just like a montage sequence of different people they've battled and how they found themselves, or if it's a throwaway line. Johnny Storm's making a joke and talking about how, well, you remember that one time we fought that giant bogey monster or whatever, whatever it looks like. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's a good point. And it's just like a comedic flashback. But even if it is a nod to Little Caesars, and they're eating pizza one night, maybe the whole, you're late for dinner. Well, I've had to order takeout, and it's, you link it up like that. I think it will be in the film, but in a very small way. And I'm okay
I hope
with
you're
that.
right. I like that idea. I like that the Incredibles thing is it's almost like the Mole Man secret slacker. It's actually just not important to the plot, but it's just there. Yeah, no, I like that. I'd also just like if it isn't there. That's the other thing. If it's just not in it, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Because the effects are very strange, but obviously the effects for Fantastic Four, and as someone who's worked at ILM, seeing the works of Fantastic Four behind the scenes, I can tell you now that's not ILM level visual effects. Like, they are on a different ball game. And obviously we've got the thing. The thing in that clip looks amazing. So it's not like they weren't trying. I think it was like Charlie said. I think it was it was for that Little Caesars commercial. I think it was purposeful. I think it was made to look like that very vintagey. This is a sort of like more crappy end, low budget thing that they're trying to do. Didn't quite hit. I think they needed to have made that a little more clearer. But like you say, could be in it, could not be in. I really don't care. As long as the film's good, and as long as the four themselves are as lovable as we think they're going to be. No beef.
it's just here for me. It's over here. I'm just trying to not focus on it. It's just a very weird thing for them to like put in a new trailer. I appreciate they're trying to make new content. Weird they went with that option though.
Yes.
It is what it is. You move on to the next bit because I really can't feel like there's much to talk about with that thing. It's only limited to conversation. We have Ironheart coming soon, very, very close to us. There are thoughts and feelings towards it already. I will be watching it. I am interested in it. But back to the topic of kind of like the lack of marketing. We'll shut this down, unfortunately. But it was good to see that Robert Downey Jr. has kind of sent his message out saying that he's supporting it and that he's happy seeing that Riri Williams is being brought to life and Iron Man loves her and all that sort of thing. So it's very sweet. And if anything, that's the marketing. Like, that's the bit where people have gone, oh, Robert Downey Jr. said something. What's he talking about? Oh, they're making a new thing. Cool. And that, like, it's sad that that's how people are finding out. But
I mean, even people in the industry are forgetting it exists. There's a very famous YouTube channel. I don't know if people who watch this channel watches it, and I recommend it to you boys as well, called The Corridor Crew. And they basically sit down and they break down films with the filmmakers themselves, and they look at visual effects and how it works, how things don't work. Very clever. But they recently broke down Iron Man and how the more the Iron Man movies got on, it took away from that original junky, crazy suits and ended up with the nanotech stuff, which they were talking about how it's cool, it looks cool, but kind of then takes away the fact he's Iron Man. He's no longer Iron Man. He's Nanotech Man. So they were like, oh, and we haven't seen anything like that in a long time. I wish we could get something like that. And the editor literally put in a clip like, Ironheart comes out in 2 weeks. Like, people are forgetting this exists. And it's such a shame because, again, being very lucky to be in the industry, I saw when Ironheart was first pitched. And when Wakanda Forever was happening, Ironheart was simultaneously being written. It was literally meant to be a direct follow-on within months of one another. It then got rewritten, refilmed. You see the whole strikes thing. It's definitely had its beatings, and I really hope it does do it justice, because from what I've seen, what I know, it's going to be good fun. And Dominic Thorne did a really good job in Wakanda Forever, in my opinion. So I'm excited to see that character grow.
Yeah, I'm excited for it as well. I mean, I thought Riri was one of the best parts of Wakanda Forever, bar her CGI at the end, but we can allow that. I think Dominic in the role is great, and I think the show has a lot going for it that has been completely thrown aside because people just don't seem to care for it for whatever reason. I mean, you've got Dominic Thorne, who's great. You've got Anthony Ramos, who at the moment is doing some great work. You've got Alden Ehrenreich, who I think is great. I thought he did a great job in Solo a few years ago. His career went left when he did Cocaine Bear, but hopefully we're back to picking better projects for himself now. I think the blend of doing tech with magic sets her apart from Tony Stark and gives her something unique and something new to explore, and I'm very excited to see how they do that. And of course, there is the return of, will we see Mephisto? Which is obviously the big conversation.
Imagine if this is how they do it. Imagine if this is how they do it through a series that the sad truth is no one's going to watch.
Unless it's really good, in which then the nerds will watch it and no one else will. So
I'm excited because they just haven't said anything.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know anything.
Like, nothing. No.
Like, we've had a whole conversation about Fantastic Four and a character that no one cares about. But we're still talking about it. Whereas Ironheart comes out and we're just like, I can name you 3 things, and that's about it. And that's sad, because that's what the marketing's done. It's like, even made people that are interested in film can't speak on behalf of it.
Yeah. Mate,
it's funny you say that.
Sorry, go on, Charlie.
It's funny you say, like, it names 3 things, because that's essentially what the marketing does. It names Ryan Coogler's name, it names Black Panther, and it names Sinners, and that's what it's relying on.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep, it is relying on Coogler's success. And to be honest, like I say, having been lucky to see some of it in development-wise, and the fact that Ryan Coogler is still present does make me happy, because this is a 5-year-long project at this stage in time. Coogler could have gone if it was, it wasn't good. He could have very much stepped back, especially after Sinners, especially after Black Panther, and as a respect of Chadwick Boseman and things like that, whether it's a pledge to Dominic Thorne and a continuation of her, we'll see. But I'm still excited for it. But like you say, I think it goes down to the marketing. There's been no merchandise, nothing like that coming out of it. And to be honest, I'm a Funko collector. I collect a lot of like Funko stuff, and this has been very hit and miss for a lot of things recently. Pixar, they've been very up and down with their Funko. Even more recently, there's been films that have been like, there's nothing made for them. Whereas, Fantastic Four has already got Funkos out, which did Loki spoil some of the movie's plot. But I digress. Those things, if they can do it for Fantastic Four, they can continue it on for other things. Even the Thunderbolts, people didn't necessarily love Ghost as a character. They don't think she needs. I loved Ghost in Thunderbolts. I can't lie. I think she's a thoroughly underrated character, but she didn't get any merchandise for it. She got nothing. Taskmaster has more stuff on T-shirts than Ghost does, which is insane. So hopefully they do continue those and push those other alternative ways of promoting things to get us back on track.
It kind of goes back to the point that we said a minute ago about like how we're like here with Marvel at the moment, so they're just kind of like the big things they're running with, and they're trying to make it big enough so that films and series like this will sell again.
Yeah.
What's the point investing in Funko Pops for a series that we know is going to flop when we can invest it all in the thing that's going to sell? That's the thought. But hopefully, if you can bring one film up, the other one will climb with it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think social media plays a big part in that as well. If the TikTok editors and things like that get on their game straight away, it might be okay.
That's one thing I will say about Superman.
And
Superman's marketing is crazy. Like,
they need
that's true. But even if the film isn't good or we don't like it, I think the marketing looks sick. Like, they did that. I think we mentioned it last week. Like, they did like a behind the scenes shot of like on set, and like David Cornsweat's just like in the Superman suit, and they're all kids just absolutely infatuated with the suit, and he's like picking them up and they're all smiling, giggling, and everything's around. And it's like, that's not the film. It's literally just promotional things, and like that shows the happiness and the hope of Superman, if that makes sense. And it's just like beautiful to watch and see. And when you're like, I'm gonna watch that film now. Like, that he gets it. Like, that's kind of what they're getting at. So even if it's a bad film, their marketing's sick. They just made like a giant statue. Have you seen that? In the Philippines?
Yes.
Yeah,
the one in Manila.
Oh yes, no, I have seen that. And that in itself, I think, is,
I love when they do things like that.
It's nice.
Yeah, because the Philippines have got the first half an hour already.
Oh, really? Okay.
They've watched the first half an hour, and a lot of people are saying it's great and it's a lot of fun.
I do think they need that chatter though, because I'll be honest, I was like, oh, it's a Superman film, cool. Like
Mm.
I'm looking forward to it. But the more I've seen of it, the more I'm like, okay, yeah, fair enough. Like I'm excited. And obviously, the only Superman thing we've been given is Justice League and Batman versus Superman. So I
Yeah.
generally think anyone under the age of 18 does not care. So that's why they needed that really good marketing is for those
Mm.
younger guys who have seen realistically the only thing they've seen of Superman. They've not watched the original trilogy unless they're into film. You know, the only thing they've seen is a mediocre performance from
hmm
past supers and Henry Cavill. Whereas now, I think if they're really pushing the agenda for a new film in the correct way, I think it'll be okay. But they need
Nice.
it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you're completely right. Should we move on to Elio? Should we move on to Elio?
Yeah.
Okay. So, who has seen Elio here? That's the first conversation. I
I've
have
seen
seen
Elio.
Elio. Okay.
I've seen a fair bit of it, but not the film.
Okay, fine.
But
We can talk about it. There's not really any spoilers or anything to talk about. Do you mind us mentioning things?
dude, go ahead. Like I say,
Okay.
I know a fair bit of this film anyway from
Okay.
Yeah.
Charlie, what did you think?
I'm very happy with it,
Okay.
and I really really enjoyed Elio. I had a really good time with it. I think it takes me back to some of the older Pixar movies. Not to
Mhm.
say, as you said, I don't think Pixar has a bad movie, except potentially Cars 2, but we'll leave that for another time. I do think overall they've got a very good selection of movies, but I did feel like over the past few years we're starting to lose the heart and the emotion of Pixar movies,
Mhm.
and this certainly felt like it was bringing that back for me. And I felt like there was characters in here that I could connect with. I think in terms of world building and visually, the movie looks great. Everything they explored within the film looks great. The character designs actually feel alien. They don't just feel like they've been put together just to whack in the background. Like every different alien looks different, and there's a
Mm.
reason why they look different. Um, I mean, Ben, as you know, I had the chance to go and see some of the early footage, and they showed us some of the sketches and stuff that they were working through in the original processes. And they designed like I think it was just over 1,000 species, and half of them didn't even make the final film. So it's just the levels of care. They had Pixar workers designing versions of Elio's cape, and then did like a catwalk competition to pick the one that goes in the film. That you can see the care that they put into creating the movie, and it really shows. And last thing I want to mention is I think the voice cast do a really good job, but especially our newcomer as Elio, and I think also I don't know their name unfortunately, but the voice actor for I want to say this right, Gordon.
Oh
I
yeah, yeah.
think he's gonna sell so much merchandise if people actually go and watch this movie because it's been marketed so bad. But I do think he's one of the like new most lovable Disney characters we've ever gotten.
I agree. I
But yeah,
loved it.
that's
I loved the film. It was a lot. I went in with kind of no expectations, if I'm honest. Like just because of the marketing thing side, I didn't really know much about it. So you go in, I don't know what it's going to be like. I came out and I was like, that did exactly what I wanted it to do. It felt like a Disney Pixar film. I I watched it yesterday and it was a perfect like afternoon easy watch, exactly how it should be. My cinema screen was packed. It was full of kids who were laughing and giggling at scenes, exactly how it should have been. And it felt right. I think there are some key points that I liked about it. I think the animation was really clean. Like everyone always refers back to The Incredibles 2. Like everyone always sees that picture. Do you remember of like the arm hair on Mr. Incredible? Like everyone always brings that up. This really looked clean. And there were specific shots as well that were like cinematically really nice. There was a scene where like Ellie, like near the beginning, Elio's sitting in the sea, like sad, and it like pans away, and like if you didn't know it wasn't, if you didn't know it was not animation, it would look real. Like it was, they were really good, and like the scenes of like the planets and stuff, very very pretty. There is one thing I wonder if you saw this or noticed this because I definitely did. It's clearly a film aimed for like tiny weeny kids, right? It's the aliens, everything's cute, it's all thing, and they had these weird like horror aspects to it. Did you notice them at all? Um,
I didn't know.
okay, obviously it's not scary, right? But like I can see it from like a 4 or 5 year old kid. It would just straight up traumatize you. There's like the scene that's kind of in the trailer where they're crawling through a tunnel and it's a lava like tunnel, and he's like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna die!" And he's like, "Climb in my mouth." He's like, "Oh, I'm like fire protected," and he like opens his mouth and it's like rays of sharp teeth. They've got this like red light shining off. It very like xenomorph feel. It's like red light shining, like meant to be like danger. You're in a tunnel, and then like this big teeth opens, and it's like all dripping and like goozing and like. Do you know what I mean? I was like, okay, that's
Yeah,
kind of an interesting
I
spin.
think you just reminded me of another scene as well. The one where his hair is like the clone's hair is like going through the hallway, and
Yeah,
then it goes up to his head, and then she like peels the eye patch off, and there's just nothing there, and she's
yeah,
horrified.
yeah. There was just some really like jump scare moments. There's a so there's a scene with they make clones, okay, and Elio has a clone of himself, and the clones are very like they'll do kind of whatever you say. There's no really emotional attachment to him, and he asks him to just be a distraction, and it's meant to be like kind of in a satellite Area 51 type of compound, and he sends the clone to cause a distraction. Again, it's like dark at night and there's like one spot, like red light on the floor. And like this clone comes out and the guard kind of is like, "Oh, who's there?" And he's like, "Oh, it's just a kid." And the kid's like body's like clicking and twitching, like all very like Last of Us zombified. And he like runs at him like stupidly quick, and, like grabs onto him, scares the shit out of him. And then like the kid's face just starts like melting and like twitching. And I was like, "Oh, mate, that's for like this is a 4 year old just sitting next to me. Like this would creep me out if I was that young. I was really surprised they did it. I wasn't expecting it
Yeah,
at
Oh,
all.
I love that you're bringing this up, though. I love that you're bringing this up. So, for those of you who don't know, I'm really, really into Pixar. It's my dream place to work. I've been very lucky um, to study animation and things like that in life. And I decided when I was 3 years old that I wanted to work for Pixar, and I've never backed down from that. And to see like you two just now talking about that is awesome. It makes me so happy. But there's little things that people don't know, like the fact that actually, if you look at the greater world of Pixar, there's a lot of horror elements in there because they are very, very inspired by horror.
Mm.
More specifically, someone called Lee Unkrich, who is the director of Toy Story 3, for example, Coco as well being one, and he's coming back again. He's coming out of retirement to direct Coco 2 as well, which is really fun. But he is very, very heavily inspired by Stanley Kubrick. In fact, he's just rewritten or written a book based on The Shining. I've not read it, but it's very, and weirdly, The Shining appears in 7 different Pixar films. So, like, even like little details like the fact that Sid in the first film, his carpet in his house is the Shining carpet. Toy Story 3, there's a box of tissues with the Shining carpet pattern on there. Like, there's so many little details that are actually from horror, and even things like Incredibles 2, right? I'm writing a video on this at the moment, but Incredibles 2 is a scary film, man. This is a really weird film, and it's got a very eerie, creepy feeling to it. And the screenslaver is a very good villain and very slept on as well. And it's nice that they dive into that for the sort of older audiences of Pixar, but they still keep the charm and the fun and the for the kids, So it's not too borderline. And I think that's what Elio does. And Charlie, I think that, to be honest, that's why you resonated with it more, is because this felt like original. And from what I've seen, it felt like original Pixar again. It felt like what was known as the Golden Age era, which was 95 up until roughly the 2009, 2010 period, finishing around Ratatouille up. You could include Toy Story 3. But, it felt like we were back to that. And like you say, Ben, some of the more recent films have been a little bit hit and miss. But I think, again, that's that, they're trying to find new directors and new places, and especially in a world where Disney Plus exists. And it's so easy just to chuck a film on there and not care about it. Like you say, the marketing's been so bad. But if people keep talking about it the way they have been, hopefully it will do really well. Because, bringing that charm of Pixar back, and the fact that we have a slate of 7 Pixar films that are currently in production makes me very happy. And that's just that we know about. Obviously, D23 is next year. We're going to get a load more. But next year we've got Hoppers and Toy Story 5 coming, and from that point it's just going to continue. So it's nice to see those in people like yourselves who aren't necessarily fully animation focused, enjoying it the way you have been and describing it the way you have. Is that's why I love it, man.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the film. I think it was very sweet. It was very fun. And even as like, if I just kind of third party zoomed out and I looked at how the cinema were reacting, it was exactly how they would want it to be. There were kids just like giggling, and like, you know, there would be quiet scenes where their kids are whispering, just not quietly at all, and they're just like whispering, like worried that something, like, oh, where did he go? Like they're just like, do you know what I mean? Like the exact like beauty of like kids just watching it was very sweet.
And
like
that's
the
why I do
character,
what I do, because those reactions, it's, you know,
it was good, and the film itself like holds its own like emotions. You see kind of he's a little bit different because of the things that he's into, and his auntie is struggling with that, and it touches on issues internally and like at home that as a child you aren't really clocking, but it's sinking in, if that makes sense. Like they're watching a film about aliens, and it's cool colors and the music and stuff, but like there is like internal deep emotional ties that it's like accepting and things. So I'm disappointed that it's not been marketed correctly, because I think it is a fun watch. I'm I'm not going to say it was like groundbreaking. I like it probably ranks just slap bang in the middle for me. Uh, because it's almost a film that I may never need to watch again, but I'm glad I watched it, if that makes sense. Like Wish, I've watched once. I don't need to watch that again. But Elemental, again, another film that wasn't marketed very well. I love that film. I watched that multiple times. Um, yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. It's there. I think it's definitely worth going to see because it is fun. It's a great like Sunday afternoon watch. And it's cool. I can imagine that, like you said, there'll be some really easy like Disney Store merch that will come out of it. You know, you'll get like little plushies of all the different like aliens and toys, and even his little like hat.
we'll see tomorrow, Charlie.
But but yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm sad it's not been marketed well, but I would 100% highly recommend it.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with all of that. Definitely go and watch Elio.
Yeah,
I think that's all we got to say on that. I mean, last sort of topic I think we should touch on is just animation overall, where it's going, things to be excited for. What are we excited for? Just have a quick, maybe 5-minute discussion on this or something.
Is there anything I'm looking for?
I mean, for me, the obvious one is like, it's everyone's answer, but Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. I was going to say the same thing.
See you in 10 years, mate. we're gonna have kids by the time that film comes out, bro.
I do believe it's going to get delayed beyond its 2027 date.
It is literally beyond the Spider-Verse, because it's
beyond our existence.
Bro, it's not happening.
That's the only thing I'm really looking forward to.
Other than that, I've struggled to like get excited for a lot of things. Although, as you just mentioned, Toy Story 5, people were like, "Oh, this franchise needs to die," and we probably don't need a Toy Story 5. But if you were going to go anywhere with Toy Story, I think doing the sort of tech versus toys thing, which is a very current conversation, I think it's the exact right step to go with that. However, seeing that the villain is now an iPad, yeah.
But they said that about lots, so
in a broader sense.
It's an interesting concept. I really don't like the existence of Toy Story 4. Okay, I will, you know, if you look on my letterbox, if you talk to me, I will put Toy Story 4 probably bottom 5 of the Pixar movies. But that's not because I don't like it. I still think it's a very good film. I just hate that it exists because it's beautiful. It's got a great story, great new characters. Forky, Ducky, Bunny. As much as Forky, I want to snap him, but you know, they've got some incredible filmmaking there. And technology-wise, you were just talking about the hair on Mr. Incredible's arm. You know, the difference between Scud in the first, so is the dog, and the cat in the antique shop. There's so much of Toy Story 4 which I love, but Toy Story 3 was such a perfect ending, and then they followed it up with a few little TV shows, Toy Story: The Time Forgot, and also the Toy Story Terror both of them, two fantastic short films I thoroughly recommend watching.
Yeah, I love them
They
both.
were perfect little world builds, right? Toy Story 4, for me, Toy Story 2 is my favorite animated film of all time. I love it, absolutely love it.
Mhm.
And it's because it has that united feeling of the gang, right? Toy Story for me is the gang. That's who they are. You know, Buzz, Woody, Jesse, Bullseye, Ham, Slinky, Rex, Potato Head, that group. Okay?
Yeah.
And continue. Toy Story 4, collectively, the entire gang had less than 20 minutes of screen time, which
Yeah, that's
in a
sad.
2-hour runtime is insane. And that Buzz was in it for like minutes. Jessie had like a 3-minute screen time presence, which is insane considering her overall arc from 2 to 3. And 5, apparently they're bringing Woody back. No, like the whole point in 4 is that you said goodbye to Woody. As much as I
Yeah.
love Tom Hanks and Woody as a character, we've said goodbye. You know,
Yeah,
we
it's
don't.
true.
It doesn't need to happen unless you want to do. And this is where I think Lightyear failed. I don't think Lightyear is a bad film. I think it's a bad Toy Story film. It didn't. It shouldn't have been. This is almost the same with Cars 2. If Cars 2 is a live-action spy thriller about an F1 race or like the World Grand Prix where guys were blowing up cars with a hidden gun in a camera, that would have gone nuts. But
Yeah, it's
because
true.
it's a Cars film, it doesn't work.
I know what
Lightyear
you
is a
mean.
good film, but because it's a pre-existing thing and that's apparently what Buzz Lightyear is based on, yeah, actually there's really not many similarities at all. It didn't work. And I'm excited for Toy Story 5 just because it's a Pixar film and I'm excited to see where they go with it. But I am more excited for things like Incredibles 3 and Luca 2, where those films don't feel finished, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you can expand them. But when Toy Story is consistently deading ends and like chopping lines, it does just feel like cash grab. And it's upsetting, you know, especially as someone who is so heavily involved in animation. But we'll see. This is why Luca, Hoppers, things like that, you know, this new film as well, that's why they got to come through and deliver. It's because, you know, give us hope.
There's a lot to come. It's exciting. I don't know what I'm excited for, but I think that's the fun of it, is that I'm open to anything. So
yeah.
We
And
can
animation's always impressing us. Like I said, there's a few films that, you know, went under the radar over the last couple of years that are on Netflix, and, you know, even things like Love, Death and Robots, some of those episodes are insane, the visuals and things like that. And Flow last year, I really say more, you know. Transformers 1 came out of the ball with some random crazy film that everyone loved, you know.
True.
There was loads. Wild Robot, DreamWorks, like I already said, are revolutionising the animation industry, and I'm very excited to see what they're doing. So to be honest, I'm more excited for those random films to drop and to blow us away and to allow people to explore and find those and new flows and things like that. Quite literally, you know, drop them, bring them back. Aardman coming back more.
It brings us back to Elio then. Use a film that's not commercially advertised and go and watch it, because it was a beautiful film and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any much more to talk about. Is there anything that you would like to mention before we sign off and discuss the next episode?
Don't think so. I think we just be excited for next week because it's going to be a high octane episode to go through next week.
It's true. Next week will be on Wednesday as every week, and we will be talking about F1. A big film, an IMAX film. We are very excited. So that is the next topic that we will discuss. I just wanted to say thank you for our guests for joining us today. If there's anyone to talk Disney, it was yourself. So thank you very much. Thank you everyone for listening once again. And I look forward to next week.
Thanks for having me.
See you then.
Pleasure.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Goodbye.